lives of so many Australian women.
Had I had any idea that that might have happened, I wouldn't have done it.
When you go to the doctor, you usually don't think twice about taking the medication he or she prescribes. But sometimes the very drugs meant to help us actually cause harm. Between the 1930s and the 70s, tens of thousands of pregnant Australian women were given a drug they were told would prevent miscarriage. But not only did it not work, the drug caused irreversible damage to their unborn children, giving rise to claims that it is one of the greatest medical blunders of modern times. And as Amanda Patterson reports, it seems no one is prepared to accept the blame.
It was the 1930s and the medical world was excited. Penicillin was just being discovered. Doctors thought they had all the answers.
The medical profession, I think, at the time was very naive. If they thought that a drug could help people, they would give it immediately, and no one really had any concept of long-term effects.
Between 1938 and 1971, tens of thousands of women were given what was thought to be a pregnancy wonder drug. That drug was called DES, and it caused irreversible damage to their unborn daughters.
He finished up calling me an habitual abortion.
In 1953, after a string of miscarriages, 26-year-old Joan Hamilton was desperate to have a baby. Her doctor said DES was her only hope.
Had I had any idea that that might have happened, I wouldn't have done it. But you don't know.
Joan gave birth to what she thought was a perfect little girl, but baby Robin was far from perfect.
I've actually had 6 pregnancies, but I only have 2 live children.
Now 46, Robin Blaxland's life has been tragically scarred by the effects of DES. First child Renee was born without complication, but Robin then lost another 3 babies.
It's really hard then to turn around and think, oh, we'll just do that all again and see if we get a better result. It's a really hard thing to put yourself and the rest of the family through.
She and husband Graham did try again. Sadly, baby John was born 12 weeks too early.
The doctor said, there's nothing more we can do, your baby's dying. And they said I could nurse him then.
How does a mum deal with that?
It's a bit tough, hard thing.
Women who were in the process of miscarrying had low estrogen levels in their blood, and so they quite naively assumed that if we boost those estrogen levels, then we can potentially save the pregnancy.
Dr Ross Pagano heads Australia's only DES clinic at the Royal Women's Hospital in Melbourne. He says for over 3 decades, healthy babies were unknowingly poisoned.
They had no idea of the dose to give, and so they just kept on giving as much as the woman would tolerate. And it was not unusual for a woman to be on 10, 20, 30 tablets a day.
Felicity Browning is another DES daughter. She says the drug robbed her of a son.
It takes a long time to get over losing a child, and I still celebrate that child's birthday every year, and think, you know, he'll be 10 this year and things like that.
Felicity now faces a lifetime of fear. All DES daughters are also vulnerable to a rare form of cancer and must be constantly monitored.
We can't stop worrying really, because we still don't know what's going to happen to us as we get older, whether we're going to develop effects later on.
Marion Vickers was also exposed to DES. While she has been blessed with 2 healthy daughters, she holds grave concerns for their future. It's too soon to say whether or not the effects have been passed on.
As I've got older, I've told them more and more. You don't want to worry them unnecessarily, but then you want them to be safe.
Not surprisingly, DES daughters want compensation. But first they have to prove if in fact it was DES that caused their health problems. There isn't a test for exposure, so they have to rely on their mother's ability to remember the exact name of the drug she took. Trouble is, many of those mothers and their doctors are now dead. Gone with them, all medical records.
You know, I feel very sorry for them. They have so many ongoing difficulties and uncertainties. and really there are a lot of answers that they haven't been able to get.
Victims in the US have successfully sued pharmaceutical companies in a class action, but Slater and Gordon solicitor Paula Shelton doesn't hold out the same hope for Australian daughters.
DES, the drug, was never patented, and that meant that virtually every major manufacturer of pharmaceutical products then went ahead and produced it. And so what you, for instance, got was a chemist getting a big bulk batch of DES, and so they would just, when they got a prescription for DES, just take it from that batch, and that means that we can virtually never identify who in fact the manufacturer was.
We know what the drug was, but we don't know the generic name of the drug that my mother actually took, and the clinic that she attended don't have the records anymore.
DES was prescribed under dozens of names, including stilbestrol and hexestrol. But perhaps the most frightening fact is that there are still thousands of Australian women who don't know they've been exposed.
Because we don't know what the final outcome of this tragic mess is, really, we won't ever know until these women are followed up for the whole of their life.
Amanda Patterson in Melbourne with that story. And if you'd like further information about DES, please call us and we'll put you in touch with the right authorities.